Solemnly swear that you will faithfully perform the duties pertaining to the office of Governor of North Carolina, to which you have been elected. So help you God.
The North Carolina Association of Broadcasters proudly presents Passing the Torch, the inauguration of Jim Martin.
Good morning. I'm Bill Leslie. The weatherman was right. The rain has stopped. The clouds have cleared. It's breezy but bright and beautiful in downtown Raleigh this morning, where in about an hour, a new North Carolina governor will be inaugurated. 48-year-old James Grubbs Martin will become only the second Republican governor of North Carolina this century. The first was Jim Holzhauser, a mild-mannered mountain man who moved into the governor's mansion in 1973. The governor who followed Holzhauser is the governor Martin will follow. James Baxter Hunt is the first governor to serve 2 consecutive terms. Later today, Hunt will be moving his family to the Wilson County farm at Rock Ridge. He says he looks forward to private citizenship, not having to live in a fishbowl. Martin comes to Raleigh after serving 6 terms in the U.S. House. And since he is no longer a congressman and not quite yet a governor, we could refer to him this morning as Dr. Martin. Jim Martin has a Ph.D. in chemistry, a subject he taught at Davidson College before he was elected to Congress in 1972. Joining me for the coverage of Jim Martin's inauguration are reporters Ken Murphy, Stella Shelton, and Larry Stogner. First, let's go to Stella at the Archives building.
And it's a good thing to say that the cold weather has not dampened the enthusiasm of the thousands that have turned out to see the inauguration of our next governor. It is cold, but they've brought along their lap robes, they've brought their heavy coats, they've brought their hats, and even though the inauguration ceremony itself is still several minutes away, the place is jam-packed with people from Murphy all the way to Manteo. And they're even walking in front of the cameras here today. But it's an enthusiastic crowd. Behind me, you can see the podium where the swearing-in will take place. Seated on that podium will be the governor, the next governor, the lieutenant governor, the next lieutenant governor, the Council of State, and also the Supreme Court justices who will swear them in. It's a wonderful day here. The weather has cooperated. It's a little chilly but sunny. A lot's going on. We're going over to another location now where Ken Murphy's standing by. Ken, what's happening in your area?
Thank you, Stella. As you can see, the crowd is here as well. The security this morning is what we might call firm but friendly. Already the crowd has been asked to back off the sidewalk a couple of times, but everyone seems to be in a festive mood despite the rather traditional frigid weather on Inauguration Day here in the capital city of Raleigh. We have, as you said, literally people here from the mountains to the seacoast. In some cases, they've come to see their man go in, and in other cases, they've just come to see what's going on. It not only is a big event, it is also a big media event. Just from our vantage point here, where we're covering in front of the building of history, popularly known as the Archives building, we have 5 different cameras in addition to all of our reporters. You may be able to see behind me there are media here also from other sections of the state. We have 12 stations who have contributed not only personnel but equipment to our effort in covering this event this morning, and some 14 stations are carrying what we will have for you in the next hour and a half. So, as we said, it not only is a big event, it is something of a media event, and literally millions of people will be able to see this across the state of North Carolina this morning. At 12 noon, the inaugural party led by Governor Hunt and his wife will make their way from the Executive Mansion, which is just around the corner from where I'm standing, down here to the Archives building where the actual swearing-in ceremonies will take place. Right now we're going to go over to the governor's mansion where Larry Stogner is standing by. Larry?
Thank you. I'm Larry Stogner at the Governor's Mansion, and it is cold and windy over here. We're here at the Governor's Mansion on the 700 block of Blunt Street, that beautiful old building that has been the home of Governor Jim Hunt for the last 8 years and what will be the home of Governor-elect Jim Martin for at least the next 4 years. What the Governor's Mansion serves as on Inauguration Day basically is as a staging area for all the events that are about to go on, all the swearing-in ceremonies. In just a few minutes here, you're going to see a lot of people lining up, all the Council of State members, the Supreme Court justices, and so forth. and they will be led down this paved driveway just a short block across the street to the Archives building on Jones Street, and all the ceremonies will start. That procession will get underway in just a few minutes. The inaugural ceremony is rich in history. A lot of famous names stick out: Vance, Aycock, Scott, Sanford, Moore, Hodges, Holshouser, Hunt. These names are just a few in North Carolina's inaugural history, which dates back to the opening of Tryon Palace in New Bern. Fred Taylor has been digging around in the history books and has more on the North Carolina inauguration.
After more than 2 centuries, Tryon Palace in New Bern still displays its beauty and stately elegance as the home of North Carolina's early governors, built by Governor William Tryon before North Carolina gained her independence. Tryon Palace is also remembered as the spot for the inauguration of the first governor as an independent state. Richard Caswell served as the state's first governor from 1776 to 1780, then won another term from 1784 to 1787. We elect the governor by popular vote, but it wasn't always done this way. For example, in this room, the state legislature would meet and select governors for a system that lasted 60 years. In 1836, the system changed to popular election by the people. The first statewide vote elected Edward Dudley from New Hanover County. Soon, the state capitol became the official center of inauguration activities for newly elected governors. Then the Civil War. This yearly reenactment in Bentonville observes North Carolina's role in the war between the states. Once inaugurated, Governor Zebulon Vance faced many wartime problems. He even spent time in a federal prison at the end of the war. When released, his popularity with the voters won Vance another term as governor in 1876 and another inauguration. The governor's mansion has played a key role in inaugural festivities for almost a century. The governor's mansion was rebuilt after a fire just in time for the inauguration of Daniel Fowle in 1888. Fowle was the first governor to live in the new mansion and the only governor to die in the mansion. Much has been written about inauguration of 20th century governors. Thad Ure's memories are rare gems. Thad Ure was a young man when he began his long stint as North Carolina's Secretary of State in 1936. Although involved in more consecutive inaugurations than any other state official, Ure recalls the inauguration of Clyde Huey in 1937 as the ceremony he'll always remember.
He looked more like a governor and like a statesman, you know, with his dress brought that about. But I admired him so much.
It was Luther Hodges who broke with tradition on his inauguration in 1956.
Of course, back in those days, all the governors, as they'd go out, but new ones come in, and they'd stand on that front porch around the mansion with high top hats, and they kept that through the years until Governor Hodges came in, and Governor Hodges wore a Hamburg instead of a high top.
Hodges broke another tradition as the first governor in the 20th century to serve longer than 4 years. 2 years completing the term of Governor William Umstead, who died in office, then winning re-election to a full 4-year term. The inauguration of Jim Holshouser in 1973 broke another long-standing tradition. Holshouser became the first Republican governor in the 20th century. Holshouser handed the reins of the governor's office to Jim Hunt in 1977. Hunt embarked on a campaign that would alter the course of history. Hunt won a change in the state constitution that resulted in his re-election. And the second inauguration in 1981, and a place in the history books as the first governor to serve 8 consecutive years. The end of the Hunt administration may be the beginning of a modern-day trend in which every inauguration may not always mean a new governor. This is Fred Taylor in Raleigh.
While we recovered from the rain we had yesterday, that was not the case back in 1876. Inauguration Day then, the swearing-in ceremonies for Governor Zebulon Vance had to be moved inside Tucker Hall because of a heavy snowstorm. Then there was snowback on January the 8th, which fell on a Monday. That was Governor Jim Holzhauser's first day of work. And if you were here for the inauguration of Governor Hunt back in 1977, you may remember that the new Fayetteville Street Mall was more mud than magic because of all the rain. The theme that year was a new beginning for North Carolina. Hunt was sworn in as North Carolina's 64th governor by popular vote. Now, in order to make sure that today's ceremonies go smoothly, there's, of course, a lot of pre-planning, hundreds of hours of work on details, a lot of invitations to be sent out. We're going to check back in with Stella Shelton, who is standing by with someone who knows about the king-size job of putting together an inauguration. Stella?
He knows indeed, and I'm surprised his hair is not gray at this time. This is David Guffey. He's the press coordinator for the inaugural ceremony. And David, I'm kind of curious, you've got any estimation of the number of man-hours that have gone into this event?
Well, that's thousands and thousands. I just have to estimate like that. We've had about 24 paid staff, about 100 volunteers, and then many other volunteers outside of the inner circle of volunteers working on this. It's a big logistical operation to get all these people together at one place at one time.
And how long ago did you start planning for it?
Right after the election. The inaugural committee is, of course, set up by state statute, and once they got together for the first time and started assuming a staff around mid-November, the real wheels of getting this day prepared for began.
Any idea what the size of this crowd is?
Well, I'm not a very good crowd guesser. We know we have 6,000 permanent seats in the area, and we have a lot of people standing on the sides, so it's between 8 and 10, I would guess.
Well, that's David Guth. He is the press coordinator for the inaugural committee. As most Martin spokespeople would tell you, this is an event for the public, not only for the volunteers that stuffed the envelopes and knocked on doors and got Jim Martin into the governor's mansion on this day. It is for all of North Carolina. And it did involve a lot of work, as David just told us, and it also involved a lot of paperwork, as we see in this report.
Inaugural committee, may I help you?
Since mid-November, the phone has been ringing almost continuously at the inauguration office. A paid staff of 24 people and 80 volunteers have been responsible for every detail of the 2.5-hour ceremony. 120,000 invitations have been sent out. Past inaugurations have been viewed repeatedly, and the inaugural site and parade routes have been meticulously laid out on blueprints.
This is the biggest endeavor, the biggest undertaking any administration will ever handle, and that is the inauguration, because it involves every single aspect of state government.
Over at the State Archives building, work crews from the Highway Department have been setting up the inaugural stand. The color, battleship gray, has been a standard on Inauguration Day for more than 25 years. Many of the pieces in the inaugural platform have been used before. Some go back as many as 6 inaugurations. When it's over, much of this platform will be put in storage. What isn't stored will be used by the State Highway Department. Newly built for this inauguration is a band shell for the Charlotte Symphony. Governor-elect Martin once played tuba for the group. The shell will be heated on Inauguration Day. How many inaugurations have you done?
Well, since I've been supervisor, this is my 3rd one I've been in charge of this type work.
Is this more work or less work than the other ones?
Well, it's just some change. All of them have different, sometimes they have different areas where they have the platform, but this time we've done a little bit more.
The cost of the inauguration is $51,000. Well, that's what the legislature provides. Private donations to fund many of the events were sought for this inauguration, and the final tally will be considerably higher. Inauguration staffers say they hope the legislature will be a little more generous next time around. This is David Haynes in Raleigh.
That's right. Governor-elect Martin is seeking $150,000 from the business community to supplement that $50,000 that comes from the legislature. The Inauguration and Transition Committee has mailed out some 300 letters to business executives asking them to come up with some additional money. Martin says this might help to keep the cost to the public down, especially for tonight's inaugural festivities at the Raleigh Civic Center. Long before this weekend's festivities were underway, of course, there had to be a smooth transition between the Hunt and Martin teams. And as we see in this report, there is really a couple of months between Election Day and Inauguration Day.
We've heard a lot in the past few weeks about the governor-elect's transition team. Well, this unmarked office on the 4th floor of the Legislative Office Building here in Raleigh is where they operate. And we came here to find out What is a transition team? Where do they come from? Who selects them?
The ones named by the governor were Jack Hawk, Jim Lofton, Joe Martin, and myself. The transition process, believe it or not, started 6 to 9 months ago when I started writing memos to then candidate Martin, outlining some of my suggestions in case he did get elected.
We had an awful lot of mail around Christmas time especially. It's slowing down a little bit this week. And most of the mail has been job recommendations and job applications. And that's been the bulk of it.
Well, we separate them and we answer the recommendations. We send a letter to the person recommended, and we take the resumes and we evaluate, we do analysis on them, and we place the names into a computer. And we get a daily printout of the new names that we have in the computer, and we have a very sophisticated system for handling all of this. We keep all of the resumes, and when the secretaries of the different departments want a name or want to know people that are interested in their departments, we can just pull it up on the computer and give them everything they need.
The press staff operates out of this office. We also are setting up the governor-elect's schedule as he becomes governor and starts making public appearances in January and February. That has to be done now, and we're taking care of that. This is one of the primary functions of the transition office, is to receive the public, to make sure that they understand that they are heard and that the governor-elect cares about what they have to say, both individuals and special interest groups, and they meet here on a regular basis every day. We have appointments filled almost every minute of the day.
So as you can see, the folks in the transition office here have been just a little bit too busy to take down the Christmas tree. Even though Christmas is over, the work of the transition team is not. At the Legislative Office Building in Raleigh, I'm Roy Carton.
I'm Larry Stogner back at the Governor's Mansion, and things are starting to happen here. In just a few moments, a number of people will be coming out of these front doors of the Governor's Mansion, walking down this pavement toward the Archives building, getting in a line and getting ready to go across the street for all the ceremonies that are going to take place. Of course, there was some pomp and ceremony earlier this morning when Governor Jim Hunt was accorded the last military honors of his administration. Governor Hunt and his wife Carolyn were present, as was Governor-elect Jim Martin and his wife Dorothy. Adjutant General Hubert Leonard was also there. The 440th Army Band played Old North State, and let's listen in on some of it.
Give me a second, let me walk through here so I can get this mic cable out. Excuse me, aren't you Red McDaniel? I'm Stella Shelton, Channel 3 down
And so those were the last official honors for Governor Jim Hunt, the man who has lived here for the last 8 years. He and his wife Carolyn will be going back to Wilson County, where he will practice law. Governor-elect Jim Martin, after today, will reside here at the Governor's Mansion. Right now, we're again waiting for all of the dignitaries to come from the Governor's Mansion, and that should all start in just a few minutes. This is Larry Stogner at the Governor's Mansion.
Okay, we're here right now with a man that is about to assume a cabinet position, talking to a friend from home. His name is Tommy Rhodes. He's the incoming Secretary of Natural Resources and Community Development. He ran for Congress against Democrat Charlie Rhodes and lost in November. A Republican governor, you're a Republican. What do you think, Tommy? What's going to be happening in the next 4 years?
Well, I'm looking toward a very exciting time. We're got to think a lot of things to do in state government. I've got a very exciting department that fits sort of back into my background in natural resources and community development. And just looking forward to getting to work on Monday and trying to get organized and do some good things.
Like what?
Well, like trying to create a position in the state where we can balance environmental quality with, at the same time, putting together the type of environment that we need to promote and stimulate business growth in this state. And that's sort of what we're going to be working for, a balanced approach that we can carry forward to the citizens. And I think it's going to be very exciting trying to do that.
What do you think will happen? We have a Republican governor, a lot of Democrats in the legislature. You're a former state senator yourself. What's going to be his chances for success for some of his programs?
Well, I think they're going to be very good. I think the people of the state are behind what Governor Martin is attempting to do. There's going to certainly be battles and skirmishes in the General Assembly. We expect that, but I think I certainly have the experience and background of being in the legislature for 12 years, and that'll certainly help me in trying to get my programs through, and I'm just looking forward to it. And we're going to try in a very bipartisan way to try to do what's best for the citizens of North Carolina.
And we have one final question for you. This isn't your first inauguration, but what do you think of this crowd and the whole event so far?
Oh, it's been a great, exciting time. We've just thoroughly enjoyed it and look forward to the inauguration itself.
All right. Thank you very much, Tommy Rhodes, who will be the Secretary of Natural Resources and Community Development. Let's go now to Ken Murphy, see what's happening on his end. Ken?
Thank you, Stella. I'm over here, as you can see, on the front row of the viewing section here, which is on Blunt Street, and we have some people that I'd like to ask what all this means to them, if it really has any significance or if it's just a lot of fun. These are a couple of young men. I haven't even asked them their names yet. Who are you?
Kevin Woodard.
And where are you from?
Goldsboro, North Carolina.
What do you think of all of this? You know what's going on?
No.
What about your partner here? Who are you?
Brian Woodard.
You're a what? I'm sorry?
Brian Woodard.
Are you from Goldsboro also?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, these are some young folks here who are enjoying the color and the pomp and pageantry, although they don't really care what the purpose might be. Over to Larry Stogner now.
Okay, back here at the governor's mansion, an unusual sight just a moment ago. And part of the early entourage that was leaving the governor's mansion was United States Senator Robert Dole, new Senate Majority Leader, and his wife Elizabeth, of course, from Salisbury. As you can see now, members of the state Supreme Court, all the Supreme Court justices and their ladies, are making their way over to the Archives building, trailed by the last one, Justice Earl Vaughn of Raleigh, who was named to the state Supreme Court just a few days ago by Governor Jim Hunt. And their duty, of course, will be to handle most of the swearing-in ceremonies that will be going on the stand. There will be more Council of State members coming out. They will be going down the pavement and making their way again to the very short block walk over to the Archives building. This is Larry Stogner at the Governor's Mansion.
The inaugural party officially began last night with a black tie affair at Reynolds Coliseum in Raleigh. We have more on this gala event in this report coming up right now.
Fashion designers dream of events like this, every person dressed in his finest. Many guests have called it the social event of the year. This year's inaugural ball has attracted more than 8,000 people from all over the state. By most estimates, it's the largest inaugural ball in 2 decades, all here to help celebrate with Governor-elect Jim Martin on the eve before he takes office. Republicans say they've waited a long time for the night.
Well, from what I see of the ball at this point, I think as any indication, we got a good 4-year coming for us by the Martin administration. He's also looking forward to working with all the people in North Carolina, and we're very enthused about being here tonight.
It cost a minimum of $7 to attend the ball, but with that ticket you're only able to watch from the stands. For $35, $75, or even $750, you can enjoy the dance and hors d'oeuvres. All the proceeds go to the Raleigh Junior League. They in turn say they'll give the proceeds to charity. The Junior League is the sole sponsor of the ball. This is the only event the Martin Committee is not involved in.
Junior League spokesmen say they've spent about $100,000 on this event, but with heavy ticket sales, they expect to make a substantial profit.
Well, I think it's very exciting. I'm hoping that they've done a very good job. It looks like a lot of people are here.
Have you supported Martin throughout the campaign and everything?
Well, my husband has. We come from a mixed family.
There were about 60,000 invitations to this extravaganza. People like Mr. and Mrs. Kenneth Seal say the state should be proud of such an event.
I think it's great.
Are you excited about Martin?
We've been very, very excited about it.
Very much excited.
Well, tell me why.
We think he's a terrific guy, that he really understands the position, that he's had a lot of experience, and he's really going to do a job.
Most of the guests at the inaugural ball say the most important thing is for Governor-elect Martin to know the state is behind him. They are glad the ball was a success. His term as governor of North Carolina has gotten off on a good note. In Raleigh, Kelly Ring.
And this is Larry Stogner back in the mansion. The dignitaries are starting to come out of the governor's mansion already. There is Secretary of State Thad Ure, but already Governor Jim Hunt has already gone down the sidewalk headed for the Archives building. He was followed by Governor-elect James Martin and other members of the Council of State. Jim Graham, Agriculture Secretary, John Brooks, Jim Long, and other dignitaries. And ruffles and flourishes or some form of military tune are striking up down at the corner of Blunt and Jones Street as the procession makes its way to the Archives building. This is Larry Stogner at the mansion.
Larry, I was wondering if perhaps the Charlotte Symphony needed a tuba player. They could lean on Governor-elect Jim Martin. He played the tuba for 5 seasons with the Charlotte Symphony. He's actually a composer of music. He wrote music for his father's funeral. Jim Martin, more than just a chemistry professor, county commissioner, congressman, and now a governor. As Larry said, the processional is continuing to the main platform here. We're at noon today. The actual ceremony, the inauguration of Jim Martin, our 97th governor, will begin. That's a nice wide shot of the crowd here, which numbers perhaps up to 10,000 right in the middle. Governor-elect Jim Martin right next to his wife, Dorothy. She prefers to be called Dottie. She was a real estate broker up in around the Washington area before moving to Raleigh. I doubt she will have time to do much of that here. And there's Governor Hunt and his wife, Carolyn, the outgoing governor, James Baxter Hunt, who will be going to his family farm at Rock Ridge. Again, Jim Martin and other dignitaries here making the processional to the Archives building in Raleigh for the inauguration. It is a beautiful day. We did worry about the rain for a while, but the sun has come out. It's a little breezy, but certainly no rain to worry about. Had it rained, we would have had the inauguration in the Memorial Auditorium, so we're certainly thankful for that. Crowd continues to come in, as you can see from that vantage point there. Military honors for Governor Hunt. Perhaps some people who were involved in that are lining up there. Highway Patrol. Security is obviously very tight here on the inauguration day as Governor-elect Jim Martin makes his way up toward the podium. Let's go to Stella Shelton now at the Archives building.
Larry, we're standing right in front of the podium where the Martin party has just ascended the steps and is now seated on the podium. A big standing ovation for both the governor who's going out, Governor Hunt, and his wife, Carolyn. They were all smiling as they climbed the steps, and this will be the last time he climbs the steps as governor of North Carolina. I'm standing here right now with some relatives of Jim Martin in the VIP area, and her name is Amanda Martin. Now, Amanda, where are you from?
Florence, South Carolina.
So you're from Florence. Well, what do you think of the goings-on today?
It's fun, and I like it.
What do you think of your Uncle Jim, who will now be Governor Jim in just a short time?
I'm proud of him, and I'm just happy.
Well, does that mean you're going to move to North Carolina?
No, well, not really.
Thank you so much. Amanda Martin, age 7 years old. She is Jim Martin's niece. This is Stella Shelton reporting from the front of the Archives building.
Well, in just a few minutes, Jim Martin will be inaugurated as our governor of North Carolina. He was born in Savannah, Georgia, in December of 11th, 1936. His son of a Presbyterian minister. He was educated at Davidson College and got his Ph.D. in chemistry at Princeton University. He earned his Ph.D. there at Princeton. Taught chemistry for 12 years at Davidson. There he is, Governor-elect Jim Martin. In 1972, he was elected to Congress, replacing Charles Jonas. He served 6 terms in the House. He was a member of the House Ways and Means Committee. He becomes only the 2nd GOP governor in North Carolina this century. We'll continue our coverage, passing the torch, the inauguration of Jim Martin, when we come back.